Emily Dennis and her father, Rodney Dennis, are suing Emily's ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Aaron Eby, for rent, bills, and the value of a car.
All rise.
This is case number 55 on the calendar in the matter of Dennis versus Eby. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Dennis, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Are you an only child?
I have 2 sisters.
Is this your dad?
Yep.
This is your complaint. Mr. Eby?
Yep.
Is the prize. He is also the defendant. This is his wife?
Yes.
He separates from his wife in August. You take up with him almost immediately.
Yes.
Did you know he was separated at the time?
Yes.
So you knew he was married?
Yes.
How much after he left his wife did he hook up with you?
In October.
No, you met him before October. You moved in according to your complaint in October.
He lived next door to my parents.
With his wife or after he separated?
Both.
So as soon as the wife moved out, you started dating?
Yeah.
Big mistake. Did your father tell you it was a big mistake?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
How much of a big mistake did you tell her it was?
I told her it was a big one. I told her it wouldn't have been worth it.
So she moves in with him in October. Now, at that time, did you rented your own apartment?
I had my own place still.
And when did you become pregnant?
November.
Birth control sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
What did you say to her when you found out not only was she living with him, but she was pregnant?
They always tell me when I'm on the road, so I'll be calmed down when I get home.
And what kind of work do you do, Mr. Dennis?
Truck driver.
Well, then it seems that Mr. Eby decides to go back to his wife. Your lawsuit for 2 things. For a couple of months' rent that is still owed after he moved out, and for the value of car that you purchased for him, Mr. Dennis. You purchased an old car, $500?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Eby says that the car was a gift and that you paid the bills while you were living there, but after you moved out, you changed the locks and you're not responsible for anything else.
Yep.
Mr. Dennis, I want you to tell me about the car.
She worked first shift. He worked second shift. She was getting off at...
Where?
She worked at a daycare, and he worked at a place called Cook's Foods. She was getting home about 4:30. He had to be to work by 4:45, which he was always being late. So I told him, I didn't tell him nothing really. I went out, I went to a car lot and asked them if they had a car for about $500. So on the way over to pick up the car, I asked him if he could get insurance on the car. And he said no. So I paid the $500, put the car in his name in case he had an accident. I didn't want to be liable for it. And then
so far, smart.
And then when they got their income tax money, I was supposed to get my $500 back. And that never happened.
What do you mean when they? You mean the 2 of them?
Well, he filed, but he put her kids on his income tax so he could get more money.
How many other children do you have?
2.
You have enough children.
I know.
That's what I told her. She had enough at 1.
Mr. Dennis, we could have been twins. Who takes care of these 3 children?
I do. Well, I'm still carrying 1. I take care of the other 2.
Where are their fathers?
My daughter's dad is deceased, and my son's dad lives across town.
And you're still living in this house?
Yes.
Emily, you have to find another hobby. Making children is not a hobby.
I know.
Let's get to the car part.
I offered to pay him back $500 a couple weeks later at Red Lobster on the 12th of April. And he declined my money. I had the money for him. He said no.
What did he say?
He said, no, I don't want your money. I want the car. I have the title right here. And these are the things they forged.
You have the car, right?
Yep.
So try yes. It sounds
Yes.
nicer. You know, how many children do you have?
I have 1.
You have 1 now.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Did he offer you $500?
No, he said he was willing to pay me $500 for it, but he didn't have it then.
Oh, but you said you had it.
I did have it.
Well, that's what he wants. He wants the $500. So you have no problem with that?
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Now let's talk about the rent. Ms. Dennis, when did Mr. Eby move out?
April 9th, he walked out.
Why?
He told me he's taken his daughter to his aunt's house and never returned.
Did you change the locks?
No.
What month's rent are you claiming that he owes you?
Well, I paid April's myself, and I've paid May's.
But he wasn't there in May.
Well, yeah,
Why didn't he pay any of April's rent?
because I got my paycheck from work, and I paid it because he was in between jobs, and he didn't have a paycheck at the time to pay it.
Did you move out on April? Why are you laughing?
Because I never technically moved out of there. I came home. Locks were changed
When?
on the 14th of April.
Okay, so how much was your half of the rent?
I paid all the rent.
In April?
Yes. All she gets for a check is from welfare.
Who paid April's rent? Do you have a rent receipt for April's rent?
Nope. She would have it. Because I don't have nothing because she wouldn't allow me back in the
Let me
house.
see the receipt. Did you give her cash to pay the rent?
Yep.
Let's try that again.
Yes.
Mr. Eby, these two women may find you irresistible. I guarantee you I do not.
Okay.
The only month that I'm interested in is April. The only month that you show me on a receipt for rent for April, every other receipt is nice and clear. The month, the date is nice and clear. The only date that there's something written over is April. I mean, didn't you think that I'd notice that?
I picked them up.
What happened here?
I don't know. I didn't look at
Well,
them.
I don't know either. You get money from social services?
No.
Other than your job, how do you support yourself?
My son's dad pays child support.
You get Social Security for your son, for your child whose father is dead?
No, I don't,
Why not?
because he didn't work.
Another winner. You help her?
More than we should, but yeah.
What is she going to do after her lease is up?
She's moving into our house.
Who else lives in your house, Mr. Dennis?
All of them.
You have
That's why I drive a truck.
You have 3 children? Three
Yeah.
children? She the only one with children?
No,
How many of the others have children?
all of them.
Mr. Dennis, you missed the class on teaching your children birth control.
No, they missed the class on listening.
They missed the class on listening. All right, now, Mr. Eby, you have a counterclaim, if
Well,
my
I'd
memory
like to
is
go back
correct.
for a second.
What?
Things they had forged.
You mean forged with regard to the car?
Yeah.
Listen to me very carefully. Put that down, sir. Put the papers down. Other than the fact that you told me that you agreed to pay him back, and you said to him, here's $500. I'm going to pay you back for the car. I would have ruled in your favor because there was no loan agreement. But you agreed to pay him back. So you're going to pay him back, and I don't care if they forged the Declaration of Independence. You're going to pay him back for the car.
I offered him. He said no.
Now he says yes. Now you're going to pay him back for the car, not for the rent. She lived there. She's going to take care of the rent, and she has taken care of the rent. Now, let's get to your counterclaim.
My counterclaim is for my living room set that she still has, my entertainment stand, TV, VCR, movies, Xbox, etc., washer and dryer.
Now, did he purchase all of those things?
No, he didn't.
Who purchased them?
I did.
All of them?
Yes.
Let me see the receipts.
I don't have receipts. I didn't think I was going to get into a situation like
Well,
this.
just a second. When you moved into the house, he was already living there. So I want you to be very careful with what you tell me. Your father is a backup, and your father and I are almost soulmates here. Do you understand, Miss Dennis? You moved into his house, and of course, according to you, his wife left. He was still living there, and a couple of weeks later, you move in
Yes.
with your 2 children. Did he have furniture in his place when you moved in?
He gave it all to his wife.
Everything?
Yes, I even had to provide a bed for his daughter.
Mr. Dennis, did Aaron over here have any furniture?
Yes, he did. He did, but he
Stop doing that.
he threw tantrums once in a while, and he'd start throwing his furniture out of the house, and then by the garbage, and then they'd pick it up and haul it off. He did that a lot.
What did your daughter move in with?
Well, we carried a big screen TV in there, sofa love seat, her bedroom set, her daughter's bedroom set, and her son's bedroom set. That's what we
What
moved
about a
in.
washer dryer?
That was already in there.
Is that yours? You want it back? Done. What else do you say that's there, sir?
TV, VCR, movies, Xbox, couch.
Well, just a second. How many TVs were in the house?
One.
That's hers.
Nope, hers got repoed.
First of all, we have 4 TVs in our home.
Oh, you do? Well, one of them must belong to him.
You can
And
have
he
one.
can have it. It is downstairs.
Oh, fine.
That's not the TV.
Listen to me. You're lucky I'm listening to this at all. Because you two have to find another hobby. You have enough children for a while. Caused enough damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I told her that I didn't understand why she would do something like she had done. We had done everything to help her. It really hurt.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Emily Dennis and her father, Rodney Dennis, are suing the father of Emily's unborn child, Aaron Eby, for rent, bills, and the value of a car. Aaron is countersuing for the return of his furniture.
Washer, dryer, and TV. He's going to pick it up 5 days from today.
Okay.
Do you speak to him?
No.
Do you?
No, but I can. I mean, it won't bother me.
Fine. Then why don't
He
you
knows my number.
make arrangements to go and get it?
All right.
So, I read your answer, Mr. Eby, and according to you, you're not even sure that this baby that Miss Dennis is having is yours. I have a feeling it is. But I'm sure you're going to do a paternity test.
Yes.
Which is a very good idea. And that means that the two of you are going to be joined in some way for the next couple of decades. So I suggest you start to act responsibly and reasonably towards each other. And he has a very calming effect. At least he did on me. Had a very calming effect. So I suggest you keep him as a friend. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do the right thing with him. He's tried to do the right thing with you. Got it?
Yes.
Good. You took him back?
Yeah, I did.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I did is fine.
Yes, I
Good.
did.
Shh, say nothing. Sit down. You taking him back is your problem, not mine. Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500 on the counterclaim. You'll have the property as I outlined it in 5 days, and Mr. Dennis will take care of seeing to it that it's picked up. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They went out to my car, stole the bill of sale, forged my name on it,
He moved in 2 weeks after I left. He was no good.
trying to get me a ticket because the cops were going to write me a ticket for possession of a stolen vehicle.
He left me for his drug addict wife.
All the furniture was ours.
I'm carrying his child.
Yeah, I'd like to have him be part of it, but, you know, if he ain't, he ain't. I can pick up the pieces from there.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Herzog versus Emery. Step forward, please.
Kimberly Herzog is suing her former nanny, 24-year-old Sarah Emery, for a loan to pay her bills, lost wages, and daycare costs. Sarah says Kimberly is possessive and controlling.
Ms. Herzog, the defendant was working for you as a nanny, and according to your complaint, you loaned her $1,000 because she was having some back surgery. The arrangement was that she was supposed to pay you back. You were going to deduct a certain amount of money when she returned to work from her weekly salary. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
And she had the surgery, and then, according to you, she left your employment. You want your money back.
Correct.
And Miss Emery said that you fired her without good cause, and that's why she couldn't pay you back. When did she come to work for you?
She started working for me January of 2004.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
When was the surgery?
January
Of 2005. So for the year that she worked for you, from January 2004 till January 2005, was her work satisfactory?
Yes, until the very end, which actually led to the dismissal. I had spoken to her on multiple occasions
About what?
about making my child sit on a couch for 3 hours while my other child was sleeping.
That's not true.
When did she borrow the money from you?
She borrowed the money on January 14th.
So she borrowed the money after you had had conversations with her about her performance, her
Yes.
work performance. Was she scheduled to be out of work for any period of time?
Yes, she took 2 weeks off.
And there is no issue as to whether Ms. Herzog loaned you the money?
Correct.
Well, now I'll hear your defense.
Okay. In January, I gave my 2 weeks after I came back to work on Monday.
Tuesday night, I had called her and I told her I was going to stay with my sister, and she got angry at me and told me that I had to stay at her house.
Well, was it your usual routine to stay at her, to sleep at her house? Or
Yes, I was a live-in nanny, so I stayed at her house.
So why were you going to stay at your sister's house?
She expected me to hang out with her and spend time with her at night when I was off duty. And I didn't think that I should have to stay at her house when I was paying her rent or spend time with her family if I didn't want to.
So what did you do?
We got in a big argument, and I told her that if I wanted to stay with my sister, that I could. And she got angry at me and then started accusing me of things with the boys, of not caring for them the way I should, and that I loved my nephew more and all this stuff that wasn't true. And we ended up getting a fight, and on Wednesday I couldn't handle anymore, and so when she was at work, I moved out.
When you moved out on Wednesday, how did you intend to repay the $1,000?
I was going to make payments from... I gave her 2 weeks notice, and I was going to be able to get a job within that 2 weeks and pay her back. But 2 days later, she fired me. I tried to get unemployment, and she's fighting me on that. She's trying to do anything she can to ruin my life.
How are you supporting yourself?
Right now, I finally started to get unemployment from the state.
Go ahead. Let me hear what happened between Wednesday and Friday.
On Wednesday, I come home, and everything was moved out of the house.
And she quit?
And she quit. And she had my kids the whole day that she had done this.
Fine. She quit.
Yes,
Did she work for you on Thursday and Friday?
Yes. I didn't have anything else I could do at that point.
Okay. What did you say to her on Thursday and Friday?
I told her that I didn't understand why she would do something like she had done, move out of our home like that, quit. We had done everything to help her. It really hurt. It hurt to help someone so much and not...
Did you fire her on Friday?
I did not fire her. I rendered her services at that point.
What
I couldn't
happened?
trust her in my home.
So you fired her? You let her go? Tell me what you did.
I just came home and I gave her her money that she had worked and let her know that at that point on I did not want her watching my children.
Well, I would probably do the same thing. Somebody moved out of my house after almost a year working for me without notifying me, moved stuff out during the course of the day when you're supposed to be watching her children. I would probably terminate your services, too. In any event, you should have let her quit. She wouldn't have collected unemployment.
I'm fighting it.
Well,
she didn't appear to the appear hearing last week, so...
The truth of the matter is, she quit on Wednesday, and she owes you the money. You took $60 out of...
Yes, I did.
The first paycheck, the last paycheck you gave her, so she owes you $940. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $940. That's all.
Why did those mix stuff up?
We let her into our home, let her borrow money, and then she just quit.
She begged me to stay with her. She told me to lie to unemployment.
She's not telling the truth, and actually that is another court appearance that she did not even appear to last week.
I worked my butt off for her. I took care of her kids. I loved them, and in return I got fired and treated like this.
I just don't think that she wanted to pay us back or be held accountable for what...
Wilson Chaydez versus Smith. Step forward, please.
25-year-old John Wilson and his girlfriend Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chaydez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One for $1,000 filed by you. The other $500 filed by you. And you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you.
Correct.
And the car.
And the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that?
Yes.
What time did you board this bus?
Approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30?
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time in it. It has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice?
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto?
No.
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus, and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you get out
When she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. You get out of the car to tell them to move.
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people. You know.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right here.
This is my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't stand
Did I
and listen
ask
to people
you,
laugh.
just a second, did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle, I got out of the vehicle, went up to the first person I saw and said, hey, this is the only way to get to our house. Can you please move up the bus? When I got out of the vehicle, of course, other members of the party came up. They see a guy coming out, automatically everybody's instincts comes into play, and then when they create a confrontation. As soon as he said no, I threw up my hands and said, okay. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go up to a whole group of guys and pick a fight with them.
So what
Two
did
or
you
three,
do?
yeah, whole group, no. At that point, we got back in the vehicle and waited. This is a very busy street. We have a large police force that patrols the area. I figured, hey, we'll get in the car, a cop's going to come by. These people are going to get busted. They're plastered. No cop came by. We waited about 2-3 minutes. People started getting back in the bus. It pulled up. At that point, we said, great. Pulled into the alleyway, go up, I'd say, about 50 feet to our fence, which you have to get out of the car to unlock the padlock to get into our driveway. When I exited the car to unlock the gate, I heard, hey, you want to start something? I turned to my left. I saw a group of guys coming at me with bottles in hand. As soon as I saw this group approaching us, I turned to Barbara and I said, get in the car now. At that point, she looked at me, eye contact. A bottle flew right past her face. Hit the car, exploded. Dove into the car, and we gunned it. As soon as we slammed the doors, the back window shattered from a beer bottle. Okay.
Bottles. A lot
Bottles,
of beer bottles.
plural, lots of bottles. We immediately sped up. I mean, I don't know how we didn't hit nothing going down our alley, going that fast. Went directly to 7-Eleven down the road and called 911. At that point, the bus pulls by, stops at the red light. All the members on the left-hand side of the bus roll down their window and laugh at us while we're standing there calling the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive.
And later today,
His mother doesn't want him to have this car. He knew that, which is why he kept it a secret. You took advantage of him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Wilson and Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride. Quincy claims he's innocent and not responsible for his friend's actions.
So the windshield was shattered. The back windshield was shattered on your car. And who was hit with the glass?
I was barely missed by it, and it hit my car door and shattered all over me. I had to take a shower and take all my, totally change and everything, because I had glass everywhere.
What was the damage to the car?
We have pictures.
We have pictures and bills.
Now, once the police did arrive to come take our statement, they immediately got a priority call that there had been an altercation at a bar down the street, so they had to leave us. Well, it turns out the altercation was this member and his party had stopped at their next bar and assaulted 2 police officers.
Undercover cops or something. We don't know the whole story.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I have empathy for the plaintiffs. What happened to them was an awful thing. Should never happen to anyone. But I know for a fact they can't say I did it because I never even got off the bus. They can never pinpoint me out. I didn't get off the bus. I don't know what happened off the bus. I mean, even if the bus driver would have saw something, I mean, it was his responsibility to stay there.
Which bus company did you use?
It was, I believe it was called VIP limo buses.
When you called them, how many people did you say were going to be on the bus?
About approximately 25. You can get, the buses they have will fill 20 to 25, and I believe they even have one larger than that.
And when you called the bus company, did you have to reserve the bus with a credit card?
No.
When did you pay them?
You pay a deposit down.
Well,
and then when,
a deposit?
then when they arrive, you pay the rest.
Well, I'm asking you,
Okay.
did you pay the deposit in cash or a credit card?
Check.
A check?
Yes.
Yours or your brother's?
Mine.
Yours. So let me understand this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
You rented the bus.
Yes.
You, sir, are absolutely right that these people can, in all probability, not say who it was who threw a bottle other than the group. Is that right?
That's correct.
That doesn't make you not responsible for this incident, sir.
It didn't even happen on the bus that I was responsible for.
Oh, it happened, sir.
It happened,
with
yes.
people. It happened with people that you invited to celebrate your birthday on a bus. You are still, sir, responsible for the behavior of those people. You. Because somebody is guilty and somebody is innocent. Now, they don't know who it is, but you, who arranged this party, are responsible for their losses because you are in the unique position, sir, if you are not drunk, to know who in that party got off the bus and who in that party actually damaged their property and attempted to assault them with what I consider a deadly instrument, which is a heavy beer bottle.
So,
not them. They're not in that unique position to know. You are.
So I'm responsible for everyone on the bus.
Every single person.
On the bus and off.
Everyone
who was also an adult.
Every single person that was partying with you at your birthday party, sir. You hired the bus.
I never got off the bus. I don't know.
Doesn't make any difference, sir.
It does to me.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive. Now, you have something that you believe is meaningful to this case that you wish to contribute?
Yeah, I do, Your Honor.
Sure.
First of all,
Step up right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My cousin and myself never got off the bus at any point. And
Didn't you understand what I just said?
I don't know how you can expect him to keep track of 25 people.
He invited them to his bus.
So how is he supposed to keep track of you if they're all adults?
If he can't keep track of them, then he shouldn't have invited them. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then he wouldn't be standing here today, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
He invited them to come on board for a drinking evening. He is therefore responsible for everything that transpires during the course of that evening. And one of the things that transpired was these people were put in fear of their lives. And if he wishes to turn around and do some detective work and try to figure out who it was that got off the bus and threw bottles at them and smashed their cars,
I hope he would.
That's... no, you!
No, I
not
hope he would. My cousin doesn't want to be here. Do you think if he knew who did it, he would be taking the blame for this?
Well, then he should have been more selective about who he invited on the bus. And he should have seen to it that once the people on the bus started to drink a little too much and started to get a little out of control, he said to the bus driver, who he had hired, because you remember, he sent the check, he hired the bus. These people are a little too unruly. You better take us home because I don't know what's going to happen with them. You, sir, between these innocents and you, you're responsible. Judgment in this case is for one plaintiff in the amount, Barbara, in the amount of $1,000, and you, sir, the amount of $500 as requested. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go. Sorry. I'll get back though to your record, please.
These people do deserve money, but I believe I'm not the one responsible for it. I think I would have been much better off using a different defense, like the bloody glove defense. This is just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schramm Snyder versus Blankenship. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Vera Schramm says her neighbor, 29-year-old Marcy Blankenship, ripped off her 15-year-old son Toby when she sold him a car that doesn't run.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
You went and bought a car from the defendant.
Yes.
Did you tell your parents?
No.
Why?
Because I thought they'd say no.
How much did you pay for this car?
$400.
Where'd you get the money from?
My bank account.
When did you find out that he had bought the car?
Almost a week later, on November 4th.
You're his mother?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that he bought the car.
I had called his friend's house to see if he was there. And while I was on the phone, the other parent said, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to do with Toby's car. I said, car? What do you mean car? Like vehicle? He says, oh yeah, it's parked out on the street, and what are we going to do for street sweeping day? I said, didn't know anything about it. Where did he get it? How long has he had it? So of course we went right over and visited the car and the parents, and I got the paperwork.
Now, you were keeping this a secret?
Yes.
How old were you when you bought the car?
15.
How did you find this car?
I was walking home from my friend's house and I just saw it on the street.
They have a for sale sign?
Yes.
How much were they asking for the car?
$700.
So you paid $400?
Yes.
Who drove the car to where it was ultimately parked?
We pushed it because it didn't run.
How far did you have to push it?
Like 6 or 7 blocks.
Did you ever move the car?
Oh, yeah, and we pushed it to the mechanic. Because she said all it needed was a tune-up, so we pushed it because it was right by his house.
Did you get it tuned up?
Yes.
How much did that cost you?
$55.
And then what happened with the car?
Still didn't run because we took it and we got we got it checked and stuff, and it said that one of the cylinders was bad, so.
What'd your mother say when she found out you bought this car?
She was real mad. And then she put me on punishment.
Where'd you get this $400 from? Did you work for the money?
I went to work in the summer with my dad.
So, you sold him a car.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No, I didn't.
Doesn't look 18 to me.
He knew about the car. He phoned 3 times on the car. He came by inquiring about the car twice. I asked him if the first night he came by if he wanted to drive it or if he wanted to leave me a deposit, and I would be more than happy to take the for sale signs off of it. He said no, he didn't have his wallet with him. So I figured he didn't want to drive it because he didn't have his license with him, and that was fine. I showed him the car in and out. I started it up for him and everything, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said it was perfect. He'd be back the next day to please not sell it.
How come I ask you if he doesn't look 18 and you give me this whole long story? Doesn't look 18 to me. Now, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now. You cannot enter into a contract with a minor because they're not always so clever. So that's why we have laws that protect minors from entering into contracts. So you have to give him his money back.
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vera Schramm is suing Marcy Blankenship because she sold her 15-year-old son Toby a car that doesn't run. Marcy claims she didn't know Toby was a minor.
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk. Anybody who has half an eye can see that this young man is not the age of majority. You took advantage of him. I believe that you took advantage of him. And you can't do that. So you owe him $400. Sir, you paid $55 to have the car tuned up?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a form of punishment. I'm sure your mother has something else planned for you if she hasn't already conjured up the appropriate punishment, including, at 15 years old, would seem to me, requiring somebody else to sign off if he wants to go take money out of the bank.
Absolutely. That's a lesson to be learned.
Sure is. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. You did return the car?
Not yet.
Do it. She's got to get the car. He's got to get his money back, at least part of it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your rest, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. 5-year-old Nailani Flores says her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, swindled her out of money before she died. Donald claims he and Nailani's mother were friends, and the money was a gift.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
Judge, this is case number 316 on the calendar in the matter of Flores versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Flores, your mother died suddenly. How old was she when she died?
73.
And you claim at the time of her death the defendant owed her money. And why she gave him money.
Okay. At the time of her death, we went through her financial matters, and with her checkbook and her bank statements was her ledger. My mom was a bookkeeper for 45 years. My mom would not just knowingly give him a gift and write it down. I mean, if she gave a gift, she would not write it down. So
you can't go in somebody else's head.
That's correct.
Even if they're no longer here.
Right.
So you found her ledger.
Yes, I did. And with this ledger, I found his name, Donald Smith, of which I didn't know. I knew of him, but I've never met him before.
How did you know of him?
By my daughter, Tammy. Tammy had gone to dinner with them one evening. And my mom paid for dinner, which Tammy thought was kind of strange. Anyway, from there, from
Not
dinner,
in the 90s.
Okay. Giving him money to gamble. And Tammy goes, well, that's kind of strange. When she came back home, she said, something strange is going on here. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, he's taking money from her. Well, I mean, I didn't think anything about that till I found the ledger saying that there were bills incurred for Don. Doctor bills, loans to Don, more doctor bills, Mervin's charge cards. Also, she had just recently purchased you furniture, of which My mother also kept a daily log of telephone calls that were made to him, saying whether he called, whether he didn't call. It seemed like when he had his appointments, he would call her. She would also take him to work on a daily basis, which was like across town. They live in Las Vegas. She lives on the east side of town. He lives in North Las Vegas. So it was quite a commute for her.
So what?
And
I mean, what does that mean to you, Ms. Flores?
I mean that he was constantly calling and asking her to do things for him.
So what? Is there anything wrong with your mother's mind?
There wasn't at the time of her death, not that I know of.
And she was 73 years old, which today is not an old person.
Right. She was killed in a car accident. She hit a tree.
So let's just talk about the money that she gave him to go gambling, when they were out to pay for... That's really none of your business.
That is correct.
So, and I assume that you don't suggest that you're looking to recoup that money from him.
Absolutely not. Only what was borrowed.
Well, so that what I'd like you to do is to show me, because that's primarily what I'm going to look at.
Right, it's right here. Also, here are credit card bills, of which it says Dawn owes for these, that were in her ledger. And here also is the furniture that she had purchased a month before she died.
Who wrote Dawn owes for that?
My mother.
Let me see.
Okay. Any and all transactions. Okay.
Okay. What was your mother's name?
Helen Roy.
She was a client, a steady client, and I did her hair. And struck up a friendship, and after I graduated, she just followed me. I still did her hair in the salons I was at, and the friendship still developed from there. She didn't talk to her kids a lot, and I didn't have any family.
That is not true. I'm telling you, that's not. Here are my phone bills.
Listen to me.
Okay.
He was quiet. Now you have to be quiet.
All right.
From what she told me, she didn't have the best relationship with him because they had owed her money. She had loaned them $10,000 to get their house years ago and had never even attempted to pay her back, and they did have a contract with her. So that made a gap between them. She did take me to work if I needed. She made sure.
I'm not concerned about her taking you to work, sir. I'm not concerned about her taking you to dinner. This is a lady who, I assume, was a little lonely, and she found your company appealing, and she wanted to spend her money on you. That's her business.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I didn't have any family growing up. She showed me what a nice a grandmother and a mother was.
Aww.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Neilani Flores is suing her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, for loans he never repaid.
Miss Flores, I'm looking at this one page that you're talking about.
The 2 pages,
well,
yes.
These 2 pages.
Yes.
And the others clearly indicate bills incurred for Dawn.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily, madam, convince me that those were loans. You know, when you give money to somebody, especially, I can imagine a situation where you are mentality, you want to keep track of how much money you gave to somebody just for your own head. I mean, how many times do I wake up in the morning and I want to know how much money I have in my savings account, in my checking account, and how much money I gave to this church, that particular person has cost me that year. Do you understand? It could just as easily have been that that's
That's correct.
$450 according to your mother. He still owes her $400 from this. Now, this piece of paper that it looks as if it's written in the same hand.
That is her writing, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. But there is also no indication that this was a loan.
Right? That's correct. But if the money wasn't owed, she wouldn't have written it down.
I don't know that. I think that you have a difficult time. 6.
Of which we're still paying the bills for her, yes.
Okay.
His clothing receipts. There were many more receipts that weren't included.
Just a second. I'm looking for her handwriting on here, because I do see one, and it seems to match the handwriting in her book, in her ledger, on this credit card.
There's several Mervyn's receipts for men's clothing, of which are for him.
Well, just a second. You have to understand something, madam. What I just said to you was, there are certain things that clearly your mother had denoted as loans, owes, loans.
And all of this.
And certain things on which there are no notes.
They were all included in that book, though, Your Honor. You know, pinned inside together.
I only see one note of hers.
Right, they were all pinned inside. Paper clipped inside.
What?
There were also
What I think she's trying to say is that my mother-in-law was keeping track of the bills and anything she had spent on them, and that what she's trying to say is that those look like they were all incurred as a loan to him.
Looks like is not a loan.
Okay.
Sir. Looks like is not a loan.
Okay.
Telling me?
Yes.
They weren't
clearly,
gifts, Donald.
Miss Flores, don't talk. Miss Flores.
That's
talk
what's
to him.
wrong with the elderly, though. That's how they're getting ripped off.
Miss Flores, sometimes you're absolutely right. And sometimes a lady who is 73 years old, living far away from her family, a couple of times a week. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
If she has to pay for some companionship by buying a present or by giving a shirt or by buying furniture, unfortunately, that happens. And then when there is a tragedy like this, the family feels as if, guarantee you, she didn't feel as if she was being taken advantage of. She was having a good time. Did your step up here. You went out to dinner and you went gambling with your grandmother and the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Did your grandmother look like she was having a good time?
Sure.
Right. How many times did you go gambling with your grandmother?
Every time I went up there.
Well, how often was that?
Once every couple months. Whenever I made it up to Vegas, I'd go.
So once every couple of months, you took Grandma out for a spin.
Yes,
how many times did you go gambling with Grandma?
Usually once a week.
I took Grandma. Grandma didn't take me.
Just doesn't thing. It's her money.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
As you can see, she started out with $35,000 in the bank. 2 years later, she depleted her savings. You make me nauseous. If this camera went on, I swear to God, my dad would knock me out. I swear to God.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Neilani Flores is suing her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, claiming he swindled her out of thousands of dollars before she died.
You're not responsible for your mother's debts. You know darn well that you're not under the law. So if you have to pay out any money for her, it's being paid out of her money.
What money? There's no money left.
Then if there's no money left, madam, then you don't have to pay anymore because children and grandchildren are not liable for the debts of their parents. I'm certain that your lawyer told you that. This is her money. If she wants to go gambling with him and give him money 5 nights a week because that makes her happy, it may not be smart, it may not be preserving her estate, but she's lonely and she's not going to live for every 2 months while when her granddaughter decides to come up and pay her a visit and take her out to dinner and gambling. That doesn't mean he's necessarily a nice person. I'm not even suggesting that to you. And I'm not suggesting that he didn't take advantage of her. He probably did.
I think so, too.
Absolutely.
I know. Why not?
A lot of people take advantage of the elderly.
That's sad.
Well, it is sad. However, it made her happy.
Why was she paying his job?
It made your grandmother happy. If she didn't want to do it, she wouldn't have done it. She was of sound mind, and if she had to pay for an occasional escort, which is what he was, and he said that they were really good friends. Bull. However, if she had to pay for it so that she had company a couple of times a week,
That made her happy. Why are you complaining now?
Because we're paying for his bills.
No, you're not. What do you mean you're paying?
Because in the will,
What-
it stated my mom is the executor of the will. So any monies be paid out for any of her expenses be paid out of that. So we did
What's your
that.
first name?
Tammy.
Are you dumb?
No, I'm not.
Well, then let me tell you something. What you're saying to me is I tried to explain it to you. Because your mother is the executrix of your grandmother's will, she does not have to go to her bank account, her personal bank account, and pay 1 sou for your grandmother's debts. The only money that can be used to pay for your grandmother's debts is your grandmother's money, which is not your money, no matter what you think. It is not your money. There may not be anything left for you after you pay the debts, but you 3 people do not have to dig into your own. It was your grandmother's money, and she could do whatever she diddly pleases with it, and it pleased her. It gave her a certain amount of pleasure to sport him around. I don't know why, but it did. Now that I've taken care of that area, now I talk to you. There were certain things clearly here that she indicated you owed her.
Nothing that she gave, it was all gifts.
That's not true. That's clearly not true.
If it was as a loan, there would have been a contract made that I would have signed.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. The 450 was I was in between jobs and she helped me out with the rent. I paid back the first payment of 40, and when I gave her that 40, she looked at me and says, "That's all I wanted to know was that you made the effort." She goes, "Forget about the rest."
Well, but that's not what it says here. That was a loan. Because that's what she is about this furniture. How'd you get the furniture?
That was delivered to me, my understanding, as a housewarming and a birthday present. I moved into a house I'm renting with my companion. It was a month of my birthday also. She wanted to go to a furniture store. She was asking me what I liked.
I can understand buying you...
After I'd moved in, what I had picked...
some clothes. I can understand taking you out to dinner. I can understand even giving you some gambling money when you go out. I don't have a problem with that. They may have a problem with $1,379 for furniture for you and your companion.
That was her choice. It was not asked of her. That's what she wanted to do.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That doesn't sit right with me. You have 2 men who live together, both employed, and there comes a point where certain things she wants to buy you, some clothes, she wants to take you out for dinner, she wants to make sure she has some company. But then there comes a point when it's sort of sickening. This is sort of sickening.
Why?
Why?
That was her choice. We didn't ask. I didn't ask.
I don't believe you. Did you just happen to be home when the furniture was delivered?
No, I was at work. I had to go home. No, I did not know it was going to be delivered that day.
You're full of baloney.
She also paid
Called me and I had to go down.
That didn't answer my question. It's not marked alone.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're never going to recoup all the money that you gave him. It's not going to happen. But you should have at least some comfort in knowing that your mother had a good time. She did. She had some young people around her that made her feel good. Your mom didn't call an escort service and said, "Send me somebody to have a good time with." They treated her nicely. They showed her a good time. They probably better than going by herself to a casino. You know that that's true. And they took financial advantage of her. It's been happening for ages. But you don't recoup that. Unless there's some clear indication or some common sense, like with this furniture. Shirts and stuff like... God. Okay. There are certain things that are clearly marked as loans. I'm counting up only those things, and I am including in it the furniture.
Okay.
Because you're sitting on it, you're sleeping on it, you're going to pay for it. And all those things together come to $2,104, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
27-year-old receptionist Sandra Bocock is suing her father, Bob, for money owed to the state for child care of her 9-year-old daughter, Jessica.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 2. Yep, sir, have a seat.
Who are you, sir?
Herb Shavers.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure because I've read all of these papers. This is your father.
Yes.
Your mother?
Yes.
Ms. Bocock, according to your complaint, you are suing your father for money that you owe to the state.
Yes.
Came about because several years ago, your daughter, who was quite young, was removed from your care, according to all the papers and documents that I've read, for child support.
Yes.
And that care for about a year, a little less than a year, and then went into your parents' home. Correct?
Reasonably close, yes, ma'am.
How many years was the child with you?
About 6.
And for part of that time, she was with you as a foster child.
Yes, ma'am.
Which meant that you were getting money from the state as a foster parent.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the way things work these days, even if you're a grandparent. And then you were told that you had to file for either custody or guardianship of the child, and you consented to your parents having guardianship.
If I did not give my parents guardianship, I would never see my daughter again. She would go up for adoption. I would never see her again. I was not given a choice.
Doesn't make much of a difference. There's only one innocent in this case, and that innocent is this child.
True.
I mean, you made certain choices. You were told that she would be removed permanently if you let her have any contact with this man. And according to the papers that I read, you let her speak to him on the phone. She was just a little girl, and then you moved back in with him because you had some financial problems.
That's not true.
Well, according to the papers that I've read, Miss Bocock, your little girl was assaulted by this man. She was taken to the hospital. Bruises were noted. You were told at the time that the man had to be out of the house before you could get your daughter back. Correct?
That's correct.
To make a long story short, the child was with you, and there was a period of time when you had guardianship of the child.
Yes, ma'am.
After she had lived with you for several years as a foster child, and you began receiving welfare for her.
AFDC, yes, ma'am.
To the tune of about $2,000. As the rules of the state are, parents are responsible for the support of their children. So the state pursued you for this welfare money.
Correct.
And you say that there was some sort of an arrangement with your father that he would pay this amount.
Yes.
He says that there was not, the amount wasn't paid, your driver's license was suspended, and your credit ruined.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me about the arrangement with your father?
On June 15th, at the last guardianship hearing,
look at me.
He knew that I had received the summons. I was being sued by the state for the welfare money, for the $2,392. He pulled me aside just before the last hearing and said, I will take care of this matter. I know you can't pay for it. I will take care of it. My lawyer at the time was standing right next to me. I'm a student. I'm a mom. I'm struggling. It's very difficult. It's not that I don't want to pay it back, but he promised to take care of it for me as a pledge. I'm nearly completion of my 2-year degree in biology, so I'm very close now, but it's very difficult. I'm financially very strained right now.
So you want to pay the money back because it's your loan.
Right.
It's your debt.
Right, but he promised to take care.
Let me hear your side of this, sir.
Well, ma'am, at no time have I ever said to anyone that I would pay this money either to her or for her. I did have a conversation after one of the guardianship hearings with her lawyer, Mr. Shavers, in which I asked him if he could get me information, a name of the district attorney and a phone number to talk to the person, because if you try and call in the district attorney's office, you get the royal runaround unless you have a case number. Because I had some things I want to discuss with him. What I didn't tell him at the...
Were you taking the money from the state because you needed it for your granddaughter, sir?
No. We could have supported her without it. In fact, most of the period of the guardianship, we didn't even know that we were eligible to receive it. It was a previous caseworker that said that we could receive that money, and in fact, it went for her daycare.
So how long did you have her in your custody without receiving any support?
I would say in the...
Step up, sir.
Your Honor.
If
Yes.
I may, at any time during this whole guardianship issue, they knew that they could return my daughter to me with no strings attached. They
Well,
could
Ms.
return
Bocock,
her.
I don't believe that that's absolutely true.
I was absolutely willing to pay every cent to take care of her. I've never had a problem with that. But he promised to pay this amount. He said that he...
A problem. Let me tell you what they are, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My parents are lying, selfish people. I wanted him to honor his word this one time.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Bocock is suing her father Bob for money owed to the state for child care of her 9-year-old daughter Jessica. Bob and his wife Barbara claim they looked after the little girl for 6 years and aren't responsible for the money.
If you wanted your daughter back, and you say there was no impediment to you getting your daughter back, and you were no stranger to the family court, I'm not talking about a parakeet.
I understand.
We're talking about a child.
I understand.
You understand that the child was removed from your care for cause by the family court, and the cause was neglect, because they only place children in foster care unless you voluntarily... America, sir, they do not remove children from parents without cause. Is that a fair statement?
Let me say this, that I've been involved in several cases where the issue of cause was at best in question, never substantiated.
That's why you're not the judge. That's why if the judge determines there's cause, a lawyer doesn't second-guess them. I don't care what your view of the evidence was. The state cannot remove a child from a parent unless the parent voluntarily places that child or there is cause. So don't give me a lot of baloney. I've been in this business much longer than you have, sir. And that was my specialty. So if it's not yours, it was mine for 25 years. Now, you want to tell me your recollection of the conversation with Mr. Bocock?
There were two distinct and different conversations. One occurred in the hallway of the court following the hearing on June 15th. That conversation was involving Mr. Bocock, his attorney, the attorney for the minor as well, negotiations going back and forth.
Child had a lawyer.
Correct.
Child's always had a lawyer. They're called a law guardian, correct?
That's right, ma'am.
And the child should be returned to the mother, correct?
Not at that point, no. The discussion was...
That custody would be given back to Sandy, so all at once we're cold-cocked with this idea that there had been an agreement at the attorney's level that custody would be given back to Sandy, so all at once we're cold-cocked with this idea that we bring Jessica and she takes her home. And we
so
just
you wanted more of a transition, correct?
It was, except for his comment that it was a surprise to them. Came as quite a surprise to the counsels involved. We normally work these things out before we appear at court, so the reluctance that was expressed was quite surprising to us.
Well, it's not surprising to me because according to your former client, grandfather of the child, he said what he wanted was a transition so that the child could at least finish. Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That strikes you as being odd?
The
grandfather who's had custody of this child for 6 years says, listen, it's June 15th, school is over June 30th. You know, we need 2 weeks, and aside from the fact she's in school. That strike you as being peculiar, sir?
In view of the facts of the time, the fact that we've been discussing the transition for about 6 to 8 months before then, yes.
It did strike you as being odd. That's odd. Doesn't strike me as being odd to wait 2 weeks until school is over. You have children?
Yes, I do.
Please, give me a break. All right, so now we're past that. Now we're down to money. Let me hear the conversation about the money.
We had been discussing for months the return of the child to the mother. It was obvious that the grandparents, because of the timing that they had applied for the AFDC payments, was already after the time that we had already discussing returning the child to the mother.
Mm-hmm.
There's not an issue of financial need on behalf of the grandparents. It was a matter of timing. At the hearing, the grandfather stated that he would handle the AFDC payments.
Just a second. What you heard is, I will handle it.
The exact verbiage, I'm unsure. What I recall is handle it or words to that effect.
Okay, so you're not as sure what the words were.
Not
Thank
the
you. You can have a
exact
seat.
word. There was another conversation.
Give me the other conversation.
The other conversation in context. Following the hearing on the 15th, I hand-carried all the court documents from the AFDC payments to Mr. Bocock's attorney the following day. confirmed the fact that Mr. Bolcock was willing to handle the AFDC payments, and
Confirmed with whom?
Confirmed to his attorney in the letter that I sent.
Just a second. You sent a letter to the attorney.
Correct.
You have a letter from the attorney to you confirming that?
No, I do not have a letter disputing it either.
He doesn't have to dispute it. You have a letter you sent to him and say, here, your client says...
Received a letter back promptly.
I mean, this is a court, sir. You're a lawyer. You know...
Based on my extensive dealings with his attorney, had that statement been incorrect, I would have received a letter back promptly.
I mean, this is a court, sir. You're a lawyer. You know, you can't rely on that. You sent him a letter. Here, your client said he would take care of this, and he says, what, is he crazy? Takes him and throw in the garbage. You think that he has an obligation to respond to you? He has no legal obligation to respond to you.
But he did, in fact, respond.
How? Let me see.
The response was in the form of a conversation.
That's hearsay.
I understand
with the
that,
attorney.
It's also
Just a
operative
second.
fact.
With the attorney, not with him.
No, I had a conversation with Mr. Bolcock.
Tell me about your conversation with Mr. Bocock, not a conversation that you had with an attorney.
Why did she move away to be with the man who actually is on record of having beat Jessica?
I was emotionally abandoned as a child. Of course I'm going to go seeking emotional comfort from somebody else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Bocock says her father should be responsible to pay the state money owed for child care of her 9-year-old daughter, Jessica. Bob Bocock says he took care of Jessica for 6 years and should not be held responsible for the money.
Tell me about your conversation with Mr. Bocock.
He told me to, if I would get the amount due that he had received, he would pay for that. He would reimburse that amount.
Did you ever say that to him, sir?
No, ma'am, I never did. I have a copy of the letter that I sent to my attorney
Can I see the copy of the letter
in
that
response
you
to
sent?
the letter that he had hand-delivered to her.
Let me tell you, I've seen this. I saw this letter. Have you seen this letter?
No, I've not.
Let me show it to you, sir. Evidently, there was some sort of a miscommunication. He said his concern was that they were asking her for more money than the child actually received from AFDC, and that the conversations that he had had with both you and his attorney dealt with the fact that he didn't understand why they were seeking more from his daughter than his granddaughter actually received from the state. All right. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Bocock. How old are you?
27.
You made a baby, right?
Yes.
You made a baby at a time that you had no right to make a baby, that you weren't prepared to take care of a baby. But for the fact that your parents took your daughter out of foster care and agreed to become foster parents to this child, there is a very strong probability, based on the fact that this child was out of your care, that your social worker was absolutely correct, that the state would have moved in a proceeding to terminate your parental rights and free the child for adoption. There is no question about that. And you are an intelligent young woman. And how long has she been in your care?
2.5 years.
So for the first 7 years of her life, you supported her with nothing.
I gave her love and emotional support, which is more than they gave her.
No. She was in foster care for a year, which means some strangers gave her love and affection. And then she lived with your mother and father, who were up with her during the night, who wiped her nose when she...
Your Honor, yes, I did live there for a couple months.
I'm not talking about a couple of months, madam.
Okay.
How long did your daughter live with your parents?
I don't remember the exact years. She lived with her for a number of years. But why did I end up pregnant at 17? The emotional and physical abuse in that home is unimaginable.
You better stop blaming other...
bad.
Listen to me. You better stop blaming other people for your life's travails, madam.
I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are. Your father didn't make you pregnant. There are lots of ways to get away from a bad situation. Having a baby is not one of them. There are other avenues. To make a long story short, what the state is now asking you for is $2,000. And they're saying, over the years, the state of California has probably spent $150,000 in foster care payments and administrative fees for your daughter. We're not seeking to recoup that from you now that you're back on your feet. We're seeking to recoup $2,000 from you. Doesn't sound like a lot if you make a baby. $2,000 over 9 years doesn't keep a child in shoes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ms. Bocock, get your act. And you can work out some sort of a system with the state to take care of this $2,000 that you owe them.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
I have paperwork. Last week, I received papers that they were going to garnish my wages.
Good!
Take my driver's license.
Just a second. Good.
Okay.
They can garnish your wages, and then you know that 10% of your wages are going to go to pay back the obligation. Know that 10% of your wages are going to go to pay back the obligation. Condoning, Mr. Bocock, the fact that you didn't really have a need for the money, and yet you took money from the state to support your grandchild. And I say that because even though the law gives you the right to do that, I always felt as if you didn't have a need for that and this was your blood, you should do it yourself. But between the two of you, you've got to pay for your child. Not him. It's not his obligation. It's your obligation. So, your lawsuit against your father is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in 21-year-old Robert Campbell says during a night of drinking and partying, his former friend, Augie Nalepsky, broke the passenger window in his van.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 317 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Nalepsky. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
You allege, sir, that the defendant kicked a window out of the back of your truck or car. Is that right?
Yes.
And it cost you a couple $100 to have it fixed.
Yes, it did.
Why don't you tell me how that happened?
Well, first we started off at my friend's house, and we were going to go to the club that night.
Who's we?
Aggie, the defendant, and I, and Patty. We decided to go to the club, and she started off by drinking
Who's she?
The defendant, a Boone's Hill farm.
What is
and,
that?
I don't know, Strawberry Boone's Hill.
Wine.
It's a wine. And then after that, we got in the car, and we drove to Club X, which is in the city, about 45 minutes away. And we got there, and the defendant, started drinking. She drank a cranberry and vodka when we got there. And then we went out and started dancing, Patty and I, and Aggie was there drinking. The defendant was there drinking, standing there. After that, we went back after we stopped dancing, and we came over, and Aggie said she wanted to leave. And I asked her why. And she said, I just want to leave. So I told her, I was like, if I buy you another drink, you're going to stay? And so I gave her some money, and she went and bought a Hurricane.
What's a Hurricane?
It's mixed with like 5 or 6 different drinks. Like it's mixed with gin, 151.
What's 150?
Rum.
And after that, me and Patty went back to dance again, and Aggie went and sat down and started talking to this guy. And I guess she was drinking then, too. She drank a beer or so. I don't know what else she drank, because I wasn't there. I was out there dancing. But I saw her drink a beer. And then after that, after about 20 minutes, we stopped dancing. We came out, and we seen that she was just sitting there. And so after that, we just left. We all left. We got in my car, and we started...
The three of you?
The three of us got in the car. I helped her to the car, actually. And when we were driving on the freeway, she says she's hot. So me and Patty, the witness, rolled down the windows, and she was still hot. So she was trying to open the back window. And
What kind of car do you have?
It's an Astro van. I have a picture.
So it has a back pole window?
It has a side window. And then she proceeds to put her feet on the window to try to open it. And I'm asking the defendant, what is she doing? And by this point, she's pressing on the window very, very hard. And I look back, and as she's doing that, pressing on the window with her feet, like bench pressing it, it breaks. And I went like this, and it was a loud sound, a very loud sound. And I'm all, Aggie, what did you do? And then after that, we drove back to Concord, and as on the way, there was glass all in the car. And I told Aggie more than, I'd say, 6 times to get out of the glass and stop playing with it, because she was playing with it with her hands. That's how intoxicated she was. And I told her to get out of the, out of the glass. And she passed out on the seat. So when we got back to Concord, she was telling me, I'm sorry. And I mean, I didn't yell, I didn't do anything, because I do that to some people, but we were best friends. So I mean, I didn't really understand why she did it, because there was no reason for her to do it.
She did it, according to you, because she was drunk.
Yeah.
So you don't have to understand what happened. According to what the menu of alcohol that she imbibed during the course of that evening, she didn't know whether she was in the back of your car or in the Concorde. So how much did this window cost you?
$206, and here's the receipt right here.
All right, Aggie, let's hear your end of it.
Well, Your Honor, just to put it blatantly, he did not see me do it. She did not see me do it. They did not hear me kick the window open. As far as I'm concerned, when the window shattered inside of the car, like he said, when you kick out a window, where does the glass go? It goes outside. There was bits of pieces of...
Let's start out with the hurricane.
Sure. Not a problem.
How old are you?
21. At least I was the only one that was 21 drinking.
Yes, I didn't know.
21. You know how stupid women look when they get drunk?
Sure.
Do you have any idea of how... Who are you?
I'm her mother.
Well, I'm sure your mother has told you. If she hasn't, she should have. You know, there's nothing more disgusting than a sloppy woman drunk. Sometimes I think sloppier than a man, but maybe that's just because I'm a woman. And if you're 21 years old, and you have therefore a license to drink, doesn't mean you have to make a fool of yourself. Now, you were pretty sick. I read your papers. I mean, you felt pretty uncomfortable that evening after you had had so much to drink. Why did you drink until you felt sick?
Why?
Why?
We were all drinking.
I didn't ask a... Listen, I don't care about them.
Okay.
Why did you drink?
Why did I drink?
Until you got...
I didn't get
blotto.
Sick. I didn't get sick. I did not get sick. We were drinking through the whole... We started drinking earlier when we went to Patty's house. We had a shot of E&J. Then we proceeded to go to another party.
I was not at Patty's house.
And then, well, no, you weren't there, but we drove to your house. And then we went to another party. Now sit here and tell me there were so many people there.
I did not feel too well at the time. That's what you wrote in your answer.
That's right. I didn't feel well, but that doesn't mean that I was to the point where I would kick out somebody's window, causing no scrapes or anything on my leg.
All right.
There was no cause for me to do that. I tried to open the window, but there was no way I could open it because this window was off track in the first place.
It was not off track. No.
I had my legs propped up.
Next
to the window. Next to the window. So I could be more comfortable. The next thing I recall is glass shattering, flying inside the car. Let me see the bill. Were you there when your daughter got home?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Now step up here. Tell me your name.
Danuta.
Does your daughter come home intoxicated often?
No.
But this isn't the first time.
Not first.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You know, when you're 21 years old, you're dumb and you do things that are stupid with alcohol. I don't know why people do that when they're young.
And later today...
You seem like a nice person. How a nice person can keep tasting their own foot, I'll never understand.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Campbell claims his former friend, Augie Nalepsky, was highly intoxicated when she broke the window in his van and wants her to pay for it. Augie denies breaking the window.
Aggie, you're going to do what you want to do. You know, when you're 21 years old, you're dumb and you do things that are stupid with alcohol. I don't know why people do that when they're young. But I'm going to tell you this. Aside from looking terrible when you're 21 years old, or when you're 20 years old, or when you're 51 years old, and you've had too much to drink, you were lucky this time that all you caused was a little damage to his car. I'm not going to play Sherlock Holmes. You're in that car. You're in the back of the car. You got your legs propped up against the glass. You're drunk. The window shatters. I don't need proof beyond a reasonable doubt that you're the one who caused it. All I need here is some evidence, more than not, that you caused the damage to the car. And I find that you did. So you owe him $206. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
No problem.
You got the back door to your right.
And now the next case.
Parties on Floyd versus Kleiman. Step forward, please.
Disc jockey Michael Floyd says party planner Denny Plyman stole his watch and broke their agreement for Michael to DJ at a gay disco.
Mr. Floyd, you're a DJ.
Yes, ma'am.
You do that full-time, sir?
No, ma'am.
What do you do full-time?
I'm an office manager.
But Saturday nights or Sunday, you go and operate one of those machines that you have at parties and play music.
Sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. Mr. Plyman, you, sir, are a party planner.
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, sir, you are suing the defendant for breach of contract. You say that you had a contract to perform your services as a DJ for him, and he canceled that contract. So tell me about it.
Yes, ma'am. We had an agreement to do, I was the head DJ. There would be one other DJ.
Incorrect.
Mr. Plyman, let's understand the ground rules.
Okay.
He talks, then you talk.
All right.
Then I decide. Go.
I was the head DJ. That's what we had decided. We had sat down while he was planning this event. It was called Detour at this other club, and there was another DJ who would DJ on the one Sunday a month that I would not make it. And we had
That's incorrect. He only DJ'd the first 4 out of 12 detours, so he wasn't DJing 3 out of 4 weeks.
Mr. Plyman, what word didn't you understand that I said before?
All right.
He talks, then you talk, then I decide. So don't interrupt again.
All right.
Good. How many, what's the word, gig?
Gig. That would be good.
That would be good?
Yeah.
We're in agreement.
My children would be proud of me.
We're in agreement there.
How many gigs do you claim you contracted for with the defendant?
May I look? I have a list of them. I don't know them off. There were so many. It was over like a 5-month period.
Well, you're not suing for the whole 5 months.
I'm suing for the ones that were canceled.
How many did you actually perform?
I think it was about a month or 2.
4.
He has a problem. He really doesn't understand. I'm not going to penalize him because there must be a screw loose or something.
I agree.
Well, I've got the exact figure. It's 4. It's a very simple question.
You'll tell me that in a minute, but right now, you see, I was focused on him, Mr. Plyman. Mr. Floyd, do you have a written contract with him?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Well, if you were going to have an employment contract that went beyond, say, a month or 2, it would seem to me that if you are in this business as a profession, even if it's a part-time profession, that you have something in writing. Wouldn't that sound right to you?
Yes, ma'am. Normally I do.
Yes.
But Denny was my best friend, and I was helping him get a business started.
Right.
And I didn't feel that I needed that, but I do have from my date book that he and I sat down and booked these dates.
Yes.
So that's the only actual evidence that I have, and I'm just hoping that he will feel the need to tell the truth.
Well, when you sat down and booked the events with him, what kind of parties were these, by the way, that you were booking?
They're tea dances, which is a dance on Sunday afternoon. It's disco music. We do it at a country western bar, but once a week we do a regular disco fun music, not country music.
And it's called a tea dance.
It's called a tea dance. It's on Sunday afternoons. It
No
starts
booze.
at 5 o'clock. No, yeah,
No.
there's plenty of booze.
Oh, so why do they call it a tea dance?
That's the name for the booze.
I
The
can
tea.
tell you why.
Yes.
It goes back a long time. About 20 years ago, people used to get together on a Sunday, and they would dish other people or tell the tea, gossip. And that's where it
that I
goes.
understand.
That's where.
Okay.
After they've been to the
name-
beach all day, or who was with whoever the night before, and
Okay, I
things
got
along
you.
that
So
line.
So that's where the name the Tea Dance came from, and it escalated into where they'd have a DJ and there'd be dancing and people would have to be having fun.
Sounds like fun.
It is.
Now, you were running these things, so you were like a promoter.
That's correct. It's my production.
And I assume that you will agree, Mr. Plyman, that at the beginning, when you set up this process, you did in fact sit down with Mr. Floyd. You were good friends.
We were.
And say, we're going to do these for 6 months,
That's right.
and these are the Sundays. Is that right?
That's correct. And it's one thing that's important to show is he's been paid for every service that he has performed.
I don't think that he's questioning that.
Okay.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
You
not
were
questioning.
paid each time that you went.
Exactly.
How much were you paid, by the way?
Sometimes was $200, sometimes $230, sometimes $220.
Well, actually, that's the only thing we do have an agreement on. We sat down and did make a written agreement on that, and what we paid him was $235, and I've got a copy of that.
Can I see that, please?
What that included was his services, and then I paid for him to take the Amtrak down to San Diego and back, and then I either paid for his lodging or he stayed at my home.
Now, is this a writing that you entered into? Just take a look at
That
it.
would be our agreement that we based on what we said. One of the other things that's important is he said in his opening that he was the head
Would you
DJ. That's
look-
in his mind.
Would you look at that, sir? I asked you a question. Mr. Plyman doesn't know where he is. I'm going to remind him of that in a minute.
No, ma'am. This is not.
Michael,
Just
this
a
was
second.
made up
Mr.
afterwards,
Plyman,
obviously.
you never saw that before?
No.
That's a lie. We agreed to that.
Well,
that was
just
your
a second.
payment.
Mr. Plyman, if you talk to him again, sir, I'm going to end this lawsuit. And so far you're winning, but you're coming so close to losing because you don't know when to shut up that it's really very sad because a trial is supposed to be a search for the truth. When a litigant who seems to be winning keeps shooting himself in the foot and yet appears to be an intelligent man, I don't understand that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Mr. Plyman, I'm going to give you some really good advice, sir. When you try to take over Judge's playpen, you're always going to lose.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. DJ Michael Floyd says party planner Denny Plyman broke their agreement for Michael to DJ at a gay disco. Denny claims he had every right to fire Michael and owes him nothing.
Mr. Plyman, one of the problems with this, sir, is I'm going to tell you what that is. I'm not going to consider it. He says he's never seen it before. And if, in fact, this was your agreement and you're a businessman, what you should have done was you sign it and have him sign it.
I understand that.
But, Mr. Floyd, do you have any proof of any engagements that you actually turned down at or about the time that your agreement, not contract, but agreement with the defendant was terminated?
Do I have any proof?
Yes.
Not with me, Your Honor. I had turned down San Diego Gay Pride because he told me that I was going to work for him for 2 events that he was doing. He was doing 4, I think, and I was going to do 2 of them.
I had offered, when we first had our disagreement, he brought up the idea that, you know, as somewhat of a severance pay, that I pay him $200 to afford him like 2 weeks down the road. He had a date. And me being a new businessman, a small businessman, I thought, you know what, I really want to do the right thing here. So I thought about it a couple days, and then I called him back, and I said, you know, I would be happy to send you that $200, but I asked one thing. I said, I'm going to need you to sign an agreement. I finally clicked in and understood that I probably should have an agreement at this point in time, that this will be the end of our, I put the payment of $200 in 2 $200 increments will be paid by May 31st and is provided as a goodwill gesture by Denny Plyman, owner of Focus Events. This payment will finalize our working relationship and any monies due of this date. And it's at that point that he got all pissed off, like I didn't trust him because I felt like he would take me to court or something, and he wouldn't sign that. Now, he never saw this, but I read it to him over the phone because I was going to send it to him, have him sign it, and send it back to me, and then I would have sent him the money.
That's also not entirely true, Your Honor.
Well, not entirely true, but did you call and discuss with him some sort of solution to this problem?
I attempted. He never did. I attempted on several occasions to call him. At that point...
How you could say I didn't attempt to make a solution is incredible. I have it written right here.
That's not proof. That could have been written at any time.
Mr. Floyd, he did in fact offer you a couple of $100s to resolve this issue.
Yes,
and
at
he
his
did
suggestion.
And he did. You seem like a nice person. How a nice person can keep tasting their own foot, I'll never understand. I'll never understand.
This is an indication of our relationship through the whole time. It was
Mr.
anytime I
Floyd,
tried to
then,
put something
then
in.
that's your problem, sir. I mean, you know, you chose to work for him.
I'm one of the top DJs in Southern California.
How could you be a top DJ in Southern California, Mr. Floyd?
I'm sorry?
In his own mind, Your Honor.
Oh, Mr. Plyman, I tried to be very nice to you, sir. The truth of the matter is, you're your own worst enemy.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
He's suing you for $2,500? Is that what you're suing him for?
Yes, ma'am.
$2,500? I was originally going to give you nothing. He helped me. I'm going to give you $1,000. That takes care of 5 weeks' worth of work.
Thank you.
Do you understand? That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next...
Forward, please.
30-year-old mother, Micheline Matar, says her 8-year-old daughter, Veronica, was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog, Pebbles, and is suing for the medical bills.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 327 on the calendar in the matter of Matar versus Soria. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
You pronounce your name Matar?
Matar, yes.
Miss Matar, this is your little girl?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she was playing at a friend's house with your children.
Yes.
And that, unfortunately, she was bitten by your dog.
Yes.
This dog. And you seek reimbursement for your medical bills.
Yes, please.
There is no dispute that your dog bit her and scratched her, is that right?
Right, there's no dispute as to that, no.
Well, then why don't you tell me why you don't believe you're responsible for the child's medical bills?
First of all, Your Honor, my dog, he's really good. He always has a problem with sensitive ears. And when the children started coming over, I make sure, and I told him, the dog is fine, just don't pull his ears. Because he'll react. He reacts to adults, he reacts to us. It's a problem that he's had since he was a puppy. He's now 6 years old.
Okay. So that I found interesting in your answer. You said that the dog has had a problem with his ears since he was a puppy. Tell me what kind of problem.
It's really hard for me to tell you. I taken him to the vet, and he says, well, he just has sensitive ears. There's nothing wrong with him inside that he can see that's physical. It's just a sensitivity that he has.
Well, what has the dog done?
He hasn't done anything to anybody before. What he's done, and my daughter can probably show you, is if you grab his ears and try to extend them, he tries to move, kind of bite off your hand off his ears.
So he tries to bite off your hand to let...
because he is not comfortable with that. And that was something that I explained to the children, not only when they first started visiting, but every single time that they went to play with the dog. I said, you can play with him, you can pet him anywhere you want, just don't pull his ears. He's fine if you just, touch him down, but if you extend them, he has a problem with that.
Hi.
Hi.
Veronica, can you tell me about the day that you went and played in the house where that dog was?
First, I went to my friend Christy's house.
Is that their house? How old is Christy?
8. 8.
And how old are you?
8.
Okay, sit still, okay? So you went to play at the house, and what happened?
I pet the dog and he bit me.
Where did you pet him?
On the head.
Did you pull his ears? You sure? You just went to pet him. Had you played with the dog before? Dog never bit you before. Where were you bitten, Veronica?
Over here and that.
Right over here where that mark is? Did it hurt? Did you have to go to the doctor?
The hospital.
What happened to you in the hospital?
The doctor put me some stitches.
Do you know how many stitches you had? And how long ago did this happen? A while ago? You know, my eyes aren't so good anymore, so I need these glasses to really get a good look at, you know, your face, because your face is beautiful. Right? Just had that little mark on it, so let me see. Come close to me. Oh, it's going to be gorgeous. People aren't going to look at that. They're going to look at your gorgeous eyes. Right? I'm telling you. Okay. Why don't you go sit down? You feel better about going to sit down? Yes? Okay. Bird? Sure. Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
It's obvious that it was in her house, it's her dog, and if she knows that he has a problem, keep him away from children. Don't give the responsibility for 8-year-old to know what she has to do.
And I understand what you're saying. The point, too, is that the responsibility of having a dog is almost, you know, the words that your husband told me was, well, what kind of people are you to have a dog? Well, I'm sorry.
Miss Soria, listen to me. You know, things get hot when you're in the middle of a dispute. I think that sometimes animals are unpredictable. And even though an animal has not done anything in the past, you never can tell when something is going to trigger some sort of aberrant behavior, like biting a child. Your dog, while you tell me that he has not bitten anybody before, clearly had a problem with his ears. Now, according to the child was not pulling his ears straight out, which is what you say causes him to act out that way. According to this little girl, that didn't happen. But clearly, someone is responsible minimally for the medical bills that these people incurred. Can I see your medical bills? Because as between this lady and you, it was within your home that this happened. So somebody is going to be financially damaged. And I'm not talking about the little mark that's on your daughter's face. That's going to go away, hopefully.
Well,
and
I have a report from a doctor that will scar forever.
Well,
she has 2 scars on her face, one on her cheek, one under her nose.
I just want to know what the bill was so far.
We paid $2,500 cash for the plastic surgeon to do her face.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know he has a problem, lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't ruin a little girl's We didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words.
That shows what kind of people you are.
And later today.
I mean, talk about losers. Yeah. You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Micheline Matar's 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills. Maria claims she told Veronica not to touch Pebbles on her ears, but she didn't listen.
Mrs. Matar, I'm going to come to you. You seem like an intelligent lady.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you knew that these people had a dog in their house. And an intelligent person also knows that when little children are around a dog, something can happen. Now, I'm not saying that you are responsible, but you clearly knew that they had a dog, right?
Things can happen anywhere you go.
Thank you.
Right.
That's my point, too. When a dog bites somebody, regardless of where, when, and how, it usually becomes the owners of the dog's responsibility. It's almost a relativity here as to, okay, so by default, you know...
No, Miss Soria, you're missing the point, madam. The point is that you were, A, aware of the fact that your dog had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever tell that to Mrs. Matar?
No.
Well, you see, that's a responsibility that you have. Because then Mrs. Matar would have been on notice. And she would have known that what you knew about your dog, that your dog had a certain sensitivity. And then I would say, well, she assumed the risk if she let her children go to your house to play. You can't say that I'm telling an 8-year-old and therefore I've completely absolved myself of responsibility. If you told the mother, and after you told the mother, she said, dog looks perfectly fine to me. I'm going to let my children go over there. Then she is, in part, negligent. You would agree with that, right?
Yes, I do.
But you didn't tell her, and that was a mistake. Telling the children is not telling her. Now, they have medical bills now of $2,500. Somebody's got to pay for that. You had the knowledge about your dog. She did not. So you have to pay these medical bills, and the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
What about the scars? I'm sorry, Your Honor. What about the other charges that I have to do another surgery for her to take out all the scars on her face?
Let me tell you something. Right now, to date, your medical bills are $2,500.
Okay.
Right? If you have additional medical bills, there I notice they may be responsible. It may be that as your daughter gets older, this little mark that's right over here is going to fade.
I spoke to a specialist, which she
You
told
may
me that it
have
will
spoken
not.
to a specialist, but I'm telling you, as your daughter gets older, she's still a little child. Her face is going to grow, her skin is going to grow, and what looks like a 1/4 of an inch scar now may be nothing more than a dot later on, and you as a responsible parent might not want to put your child through an additional surgical procedure. So right now I'm giving you your medical bills to date, which are $2,500. Now you have to know, Ms. Matar, also, if you allow your children to go next door to a neighbor to play and the neighbor has a dog, a little dog like this, that looks perfectly harmless. There is always that risk. I don't think that there was anything malevolent about what the defendant did. I mean, according to what she tells me, the dog has never bitten anybody else. But you have a responsibility to tell the parents, not the children, of people that come into your house, that this dog has now bitten one child. Because the next time, if this happens to somebody else, you are responsible for punitive damages. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, out of the back door to your right.
You know he has a problem. Lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't
ruined
ruin a little girl's
we didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
Well,
You did not even bother to call to ask how my daughter was.
And now the next case.
Parties on Flubacher versus Fi. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Renata Flubacher says she bailed 19-year-old Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and has not been paid back.
The defendant was a friend of yours, according to your complaint. She had had some trouble with her mate.
Correct.
Some domestic violence, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You had him arrested?
Yes, I did.
And then you thought better of it.
Yes.
So you called your friend and asked her to bail him out of jail.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I was unsure of it at first. I didn't know the procedures of what the law meant and what exactly. At first, it was just that she needed to borrow the money, and then it ended up she needed a co-signer, which was a lot more because I didn't know the gentleman. And of course, what I knew of him was all negative because what
You
had
mean the
happened.
gentleman that she lives with?
Well, her boyfriend.
Her
yes.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So how much did you spend the first time to bail him out of jail?
I think it was $325 after all the court fines.
And you borrowed that money from her?
Yes.
You promised to pay her back?
Yes, I did.
And you haven't?
No, I haven't had a chance.
How long ago was this?
It was in May, I think.
Now then, he got himself arrested again.
Right. He got on probation and then was arrested for the same thing pretty much, from what my understanding is. Not on her, but on somebody else.
He sounds like a real charmer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renata Flubacher says she bailed Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and is suing Courtney to get the money back. Courtney feels it's her boyfriend's debt.
What was he arrested for the second time?
Assault.
On whom?
Some guy. I don't know. Some guy he fought with.
And what happened?
He had called me from jail and was crying and telling me that he respected me and that one of the main problems with Courtney and I was that he wouldn't let me see Courtney. He said that my friendship with her, that I had bad influences
This is Courtney?
on her. Yes.
that I had bad influences on her. I've known her since 6th grade, and he pretty much told Courtney who she could and could not see, and he pretty much was just apologizing and saying that, you know, if I got him out again, that things would be different and that she could see me. Because when I got him out the first time, pretty much didn't speak to Courtney again. You know, I didn't hear from her. She was at his house. I would call there. He would get upset with her, yell at her, tell her, you need to tell that girl to quit calling here.
I mean, this is after
I bailed him out of jail.
After you bailed him out.
So he pretty much just begged me, and then he started saying some things about if his probation officer found out that he had violated his probation, he would go to jail for 6 years. And he was like, I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to go to jail for something I don't deserve, and something like that. So I called Courtney, and I was like, you know, Courtney, is this true? And from what she understood, it was all true. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you have another way to get him out? You know, do you need the money? She was like, yeah, I need the money, and I can't live without him, and I need him to be out of jail. And
did you say that to her?
I did say that.
You couldn't live without him?
Well, I did love him very much.
Sounds like a manipulative sucker.
Yeah. Well, at first he wasn't like that, but...
So how much did it cost you the second time?
It was $325 again. And this time with a lot more writing his, because I had to co-sign also again, because neither one of them know anybody who has any type of liability, and it was a lot more money this time if he didn't end up going back to court.
Did he go back to court?
No, he didn't. I ended up having to call bounty hunters on him to pick him up. He was supposed to go to court, and Courtney and him got in a really big fight within a week or something. Something blew up, and he was staying at his other girlfriend's house, and we had to call the cops, and we had to do all this stuff. And the bounty hunters came and picked him up and had to take him to court, and then he got put back in jail.
So how much did the whole exercise cost you?
It was a little over $900.
All right, Courtney, let me hear your defense to this.
Well, I believe that I owe her for bailing him out the first time, but I didn't ask her to bail him out the second time. And he's the one that asked her, so I think that she should be suing him for the rest.
Well, she did, in fact, call you after she got this jailhouse call.
Yes, and I told her if she wanted to do it, that I would like her to do it, but I wasn't asking her to do it.
You said, I'm not asking you to do it, or did you say, I love him and I can't live without him?
Yeah, I said that, but I'm not asking you to bail him out.
She did say that, too. She's like, well, I'm not asking you, I'm just... She said something like, I'm not asking you because I know you've already done this once, and I know I already owe you money, but I love him so much, and I can't live without him, you know? And I was just like, okay, so do you want me to leave him in jail, or do you want me to get him out of jail? You know, this is up to you. And I told her straight out, I was like, you owe me this money, I can't stand it. I don't like what he does to you. I don't like the way he treats you. I don't like the way he treats me as somebody who's helping him. And
did you say that to her when you spoke to her on the phone?
Yes, I did. And we went together to the bonds place, and I was like, Courtney, this is a lot of money. I was like, I've worked so hard for all this money. And
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress and a full-time student. And I've been saving all my life. I was like, this is my savings, and, you know, you will pay me back this money.
When did Prince Charming finally leave the picture?
About a month ago.
Under what circumstances?
I just couldn't take it anymore.
And he's going back to
jail.
And
he's actually wanted again. And I'm trying to help his aunt out because she's going to have to put up $14,000 if he doesn't turn himself in. So I'm helping her.
You mean he got somebody else to put up bail for him?
Oh, yeah, his aunt
and he
bailed him
didn't
out.
show up.
And he hasn't showed up, and I'm the only one that he calls, so I'm trying to set him up.
Let me tell you what you should try to do. Change your number.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe the plaintiff when she says she couldn't stand your boyfriend. Sounds to me as if she had good cause. He tried to come between the two of you. He's clearly abusive. He's unreliable. And yet, because of your friendship, she bailed him out of jail. Big mistake. Don't do it again. I'm sure you won't. You know, you're a hardworking gal, and if you have been diligent about saving your money, save it. You know, bailing him out is like taking the money and throwing it down the sewer. But there is no question that I believe that you assured her on both occasions that you would be responsible for this money.
because she was not relying on the boyfriend to pay her back. She was relying on you to pay her back. Your lawsuit seeks $800. You have to pay her. It's the right thing to do. Okay? Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues.
Khi nào thì cái kết quả du học tại đất nước Nhật Bản mới được thông báo? Thì đối với cái việc sở nhập cảnh tại đất nước Nhật Bản sẽ được thông báo và sẽ gửi giấy phép nhập cảnh vào đất nước Nhật Bản cho các trường trước 2 tháng của mỗi cái kỳ nhập học. Và cụ thể là nếu như mà chúng ta nhập học vào tháng 1 thì tháng 12 chúng ta sẽ nhận được cái giấy báo học. Còn nếu như nhập học vào tháng 4 thì tháng 2 sẽ nhận được giấy báo. Còn nếu như mà nhập học vào tháng 7 thì tháng 5 sẽ nhận được giấy báo học. Còn nếu như mà nhập học vào tháng 10 thì vào khoảng thời gian tháng 8 là chúng ta có thể nhận được cái giấy báo. Đó là cái cách mà tại đất nước Nhật Bản sẽ trả cái kết quả giấy báo, các cái giấy báo khi mà chúng ta trúng tuyển để đi du học tại đất nước Nhật Bản, mà mọi người cần lưu ý để chúng ta cần phải chuẩn bị các cái giấy tờ cũng như là thủ tục và các loại tiền mà chúng ta cần thiết để chúng ta đi du học tại đất nước xứ sở Kim Chi. Thông qua video này thì các bạn khi mà đang chờ đợi thì các bạn có thể biết được cái thời gian là mình sẽ nhận được cái kết quả khi mà chúng ta đi du học tại đất nước Nhật Bản. Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã luôn theo dõi và đồng hành với kênh của tôi.